show for February 21st. It is a Saturday. It only took until one game remaining in the Olympic tournament for me to realize that these live shows work best when I start speaking before my face is on camera. It's a lot less awkward. Sean McIndoe, what have you learned about the live podcast production process over the last couple weeks?
Nothing at all. Is that
Yeah.
Is that okay?
We suck at this. We're terrible at it.
I've told you, I'm too old to learn new things. I'm done. I'm done learning. This is it.
Bronze medal game just went down. 6-1 win for Finland over Slovakia. A little bit of an anticlimactic affair. I'm not going to lie about that. We liked what we saw from Slovakia and Finland to varying degrees, I think, in the semifinal games. So was hoping that we would get something a little bit more memorable than what we got. But Sean, the two goals 42 seconds apart in the third period, that was game over stuff. It was a power play one from Rupa Hintz off a tip of a Miro Heiskanen shot, and then Capo Kakko turned a Slovakian turnover into a pretty sick snipe. So that was that 6-1 Finland. I think they showed themselves to be pretty fairly the third best team in this tournament, I would say.
Yep. And I mean, Slovakia had been that. I don't necessarily want to call them like the underdog or the Cinderella story, because I think that is maybe not giving them enough credit for some of the success they'd had coming into this tournament. But certainly early on, they were the story, and it kind of would have been fun to see them finish it, or at least maybe come closer than they did. Although we had a close game going into the third period today. But full credit to Finland. This is what they do. This is Finland has never won a best on best tournament, but they are always right around it. And in the NHL era of the Olympics, Finland now has more medals than anyone else. And we leave this tournament with more medals than anyone else. And that includes Canada. Finland is just, this is what they do. They get to the Final Four. They take care of business in bronze medal games. They certainly, we've seen them make the favorites pretty nervous on a few different occasions, including just a few days ago. And yet another medal for them, fifth in 6 tournaments. Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Plus, someone told them they were allowed to actually try to score goals when they had a lead today. I think that was helpful.
That was better than mashing all 5 guys into the defensive end. I haven't heard from Timo Selänne. Are we okay with the officiating? Has it been given the stamp of approval, or
what if there is? I wish there would have been a Slovak referee that he could have tried to blame something on this.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen a true Timo Selänne heel turn in this. I don't feel like we got it.
I think we have. I think we've seen that in some regards.
It would be okay. I mean, nothing may ever match the Wayne Gretzky, and this is this is 20 plus years ago. Wayne Gretzky, when we still liked him in Canada, but him in 2002 doing his referee rant. I mean, that's the gold standard, literally, when it comes to nice guys that everybody likes. Suddenly,
you can just add
over the officiating.
Add that to the growing list of similarities between Timo Selänne and Wayne Gretzky. So I still, we've talked about this, you and I have, I think, in a couple different spots in a couple different ways, but watching that game, certainly watching the Canada game, I could not help but think, like, what if Aleksander Barkov were here? Like, it was impossible for me to watch a Finland game at any point during this tournament and not think, like, yep, these guys are great, but you know what would be really helpful if they had the best two-way center on the planet on top of this lineup? How different things would have looked. And then, truly, if the rest of the team hangs together in the way that it did, I think, we're not talking about them. Who knows? Maybe the end result is still that they win a gold medal game 6-1, right? But God, the other elements that were present on that team and the way some of those guys played. Halavai was great, the goaltender. I think if you could have kept all that stuff and somehow added a player like Barkov to the mix, man, I think the North American teams would have been sweating it out a little bit more than they were.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I mean, it's the country's best player was not available, and I mean that's life in hockey, obviously.
It's the way it goes. Yeah,
we've seen it for other teams. We still very well may see something similar tomorrow for Canada if Sidney Crosby can't go. But you're right. I mean, especially given how thin the margin was in that Canada game. I mean, they had them. They had them, and it's awfully
they could have used a dude who could swing puck possession by himself, basically. Like that's what Barkov is. That's what Barkov is when he's at his best. He dictates where the puck is and what happens when it's there. And I think if he would have been in the mix, man, it's tough to not look, especially at that semifinal game, and not think that things would have gone different. But hey, that's life. People get hurt. And it's sports. It's the Olympics. It's the way the cookie crumbles. Yep. I a word about Slovakia too, and you touched on this, but it has been funny as NHL players have been absent from the Olympics over the last 12 years. It's been funny the Slovakia had a chance to rebuild kind of in the background, because the Sochi games were just Mark Lazarus has written about this at length. That was like a devastating outcome for them, right? Because they knew that team did. The Yaroslav Halaks of the world knew that, the next generation of players was pretty far away. So what we've seen, as the Olympics, stop being best on best is, the Uri Slafkovskys of the world and the Dalibor Dvorskys and Simon Nemec and players like that have been able to pop up and really turn themselves into, make them relevant in tournaments like this. And it's cool to see, and it's fun to see, because that really was, even in the moment at Sochi, the Slovakian crash out was kind of a memorable thing, because I think they knew the stakes, and they've spent the last 12 years, restocking the cupboard and doing what they needed to do from that standpoint.
And it's I mean, hockey at the Olympics sometimes feels like the ultimate team game, especially when you see these guys that are superstars on their own team coming and playing those lower roles in the lineup, taking on fourth line duty, all that stuff. But you do still get the individual performances, and there are guys who elevate their reputations. And I mean, when you look at Slafkovsky, has anybody in this tournament done as much to bolster their NHL reputation other than Macklin Celebrini? I think he's maybe the guy that you would point to and say, if you weren't already on this guy's a legitimate superstar right now, not in 2 years, not on his way. He's there right now. But Slafkovsky's got to be right there too. I mean, if you're a Montreal fan, you got to be giddy to have seen what you just saw over the last couple of weeks. We know what he did in the last Olympics. This guy might be a big game player.
Yeah, there's something about his development arc, I think, just generally that's really gratifying. I've enjoyed watching him progressively get better. He's improved year over year. He's a good reminder, and this is another thing that you and I have talked about in various capacities over the years, is that not all number one picks are created equal. Not everyone deserves the generational talent label. Just because the flip side of that is just because someone steps in and isn't Macklin Celebrini straight away when they're 18 or 19 years old, there's still, it's still very feasible that they can turn it into, a franchise caliber player. And I think we need to treat Slafkovsky as if he's pretty close to wearing that label, because he's been great for the Montreal Canadiens, and he's been great at things this season for them that he wasn't great at in the past. So we've seen steady improvement, not just at the Olympics, but in the Canadiens lineup too. And I just like, I like seeing that. I appreciate that, because it teaches people, you, me, anybody, that patience is necessary, and that sometimes development curves, don't when you're talking about number one, number two, number three picks, sometimes they, it takes a little bit longer for a guy to cook. And I think Slafkovsky's a great bit of proof of that.
Yep. That's I think that's absolutely true. And I mean, now he goes back to to Montreal to a well-rested team because luckily for them, none of their other players got invited, so they
don't
be good to go.
He doesn't have to worry about Cole Caulfield being tired out from 3-on-3 overtime yesterday.
Exactly. Yeah, he went. That ended up being just fine because Bill Guerin has already nailed this thing, man.
He's fine. There's actually nobody should ever criticize him for anything. That's my big takeaway today. We got the gold medal game tomorrow, obviously 8:10 Eastern, Canada versus the United States. You were certainly aware of that already. Sean, we talked about this before the record. Very funny. And this is not a knock on Pierre because Pierre's the greatest, and in this piece certainly deserved to be written. But there's a piece on The Athletic that was published earlier today, where it's Doug Armstrong and Billy Guerin, not quite taking a victory lap because they know they haven't won anything necessarily yet, but they're both like, yeah, we did a pretty good job with this, right? Like nobody should be all that mad about the lineup decisions anymore, right? Like, okay, we'll see. We'll talk to you guys at about 11:30 Eastern tomorrow and see if the whole
maybe sooner
to see if the premise actually stacks up. It's very funny.
It's going to come down to who loses the game and how they lose the game too will be a big part of it. So we will
because both teams, the most likely outcome is that if either of them loses, the odds that they lose because of the exact things that people were criticizing those two for, like, they're pretty high. If Canada loses, it's probably going to be because Jordan Binnington isn't great. And if the United States loses, it's probably going to be because they don't have a goal on the ice whenever they need it most. And those are the things that people were mad about.
And especially if it comes down to, a 2-1 game, either way, one team will be proven right because both of these teams, certainly the US, but I think to an extent Canada as well, these are the teams that are designed to win the 2-1 game. We need the penalty killers. We need the face-off guys, the grinders. Great. And then the question is always, but what if you're the team that's down 2-1? Did you bring enough offense? And, that's where the Cole Caulfields and Jason Robertsons and Connor Bedards and all of those guys come into the conversation. And if it's a close one tomorrow, one of those teams is going to be able to say, see, we grinded it out. We found a way. Like we said we were. That was the game plan. And the other team is going to be sitting there going, we were 1 goal away. And we left a lot of goals back in
we left goals back in, Michigan or whatever. To me, that should already be put to bed, Gary, instead of the second guessing. I believe I took the right players. I believe Doug took the right players. I don't get into their business, but from knowing what he's been through and what I've been through, I think we both did a pretty good job. Fair. Okay. You did a pretty good job. You did a job that's guaranteed to net you a silver medal. Let's see how this stands up tomorrow morning.
I can't wait till the Wild are facing a Game 7 in the playoffs and Kirill Kaprizov says, "You know what?
Good job.
Win or lose, I feel like we've done enough already. I feel like this is
this is banger after banger from Guerin. That's the real big picture here. How great this is for our game. Whether you're American, Canadian, Czech, Slovak, Finnish, Swedish, whatever, this is just so good for. I do. Do you feel that way as a Canadian hockey fan, Sean McIndoe? Do you feel that everybody's won in a way already? You're no matter what happens, the outcome is
why
fine.
Even keep score. Because it's, U.S. and Canada, there's no bad blood here. And he's right. It's all the other countries too. They're so glad that it's Canada and the U.S. in the gold medal again. They're really rooting for those two teams. They're super sympathetic to us complaining about like start times not being the right ones for the two North American teams. They just, boy, if you're you're a Finn, you're Czech, you're Swedish, you're just like, can we get more attention on those two North American teams and make the whole tournament feel like it's about them? So Billy's got his finger on the pulse, I think.
What concerns you about tomorrow? Like, we're outside of the obvious. As a Canadian, we're not going to talk about Bennington. Like, you need to pick something else that's that you're worried about.
I mean, they're either not going to have Sidney Crosby or they're not going to have like capital S Sidney Crosby. There may be a version of him. out there, especially with the rules with the extra forward spot. But they don't have the real Sidney Crosby. I'm not sure they have the real Nathan McKinnon. He is, we've seen him look banged up. We've seen him, I don't know what the health situation is there. So that's a little bit worrying. And just the fact that, a tournament like this, you get so caught up in the most recent results, but the narrative that started to percolate a bit over the last couple of days of Team USA peaking at the right time, whereas Canada's had two very tough games to get here. Maybe that could be the sort of thing that does have an impact, especially when you consider these two teams pretty close to a coin flip coming into this. And now, with the injury side, and Josh Morrissey being another one that we haven't even mentioned yet. Team USA is the healthier team, and they've maybe got a little bit more of the momentum, although I'm not sure that's going to matter that much.
I keep going back and forth on how much I care or how much an issue it may or may not be that, Celebrini played 26 minutes last game, and on and on. All the Canadian big dogs had serious minutes logged against Finland. That's been another kind of bit of narrative that's popped up over the last 24 hours or so, and I'm struggling with how much I think that's going to matter.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think certainly a 19-year-old is going to be gassed. Especially these guys when they're playing the biggest game.
This is it
of their lives. That so far just about all of them, if not all of them. So
a big part of being tired is when you know that there's some crazy amount of stuff ahead of you. Like that's when you feel the most beat. Whether it's a normal person who's talking about work or whatever. You're always most tired in the middle of the race, and I think the fact that they're at the end of this, I tend to not put a ton of.
Yeah,
I tend.
You can see the finish line. You leave it all out there.
Exactly. Yeah. Blah blah blah. Pick a cliche. On the American end of things, I'm worried about Tage Thompson being hurt. I think his presence has, that's the big variable between outside of Quinn Hughes. His presence in that forward group is the big variable. Between the Four Nations tournament and now. And if he's not 100%, the power play alone, whether it's one opportunity or three or however many it ends up being, he's such a crucial element there with that shot, with that right-handed shot. That's a big deal. And also it's going to be really interesting in the first period of the game to watch Jack Hughes, because I think he was fantastic against Slovakia, game changer, did a highlight reel goal that we're all going to see for a long time when he shook the Finnish the Slovak defender there. Great. I'm not sure how that's going to translate into a gold medal game. Like we need to see. It's very possible because Canada has the last change in this one. It's easy to envision a world where his line gets a pretty steady dose of Sam Bennett, Tom Wilson, Brad Marchand earlier, and they just make it their business to bang him around and erase him from that game. And because he's really important. His increased relevance at this tournament is a pretty serious change.
Yep, and whether we see that line going up against the Tkachuks as well, and can they bait them into anything? Can the Tkachuks walk that line of? Yeah. All right, this is a big game. This is not the time to do the sideshow stuff. And, it's not that time for the Canadians either. But if you're Tom Wilson, I think that you take that trade-off. If you can, whether it's 2 minutes or more, if you can take one of those brothers off with you, you'll take that. And, so does Sam Bennett and whoever else. So
I think Brady's the one that Tom Wilson should be targeting. I think Matthew... personality type wise, history wise, I think I don't know if I necessarily mean this as a compliment or not, but I think he knows how to play that game a little bit more. There's a level of cunning with him that I don't think Brady's necessarily got in the bag. So if you want,
good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. I think if Wilson baits somebody, it's going to be the little one. We shall see.
Probably right. And look, I mean, we said we weren't going to talk Binnington, but I'm going to be
Yeah, that's fine.
Watching, both the
You
goalies and not just as far as, okay, obviously, I don't know if Team USA comes out and scores on the first 2 shots. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Just watching even the saves, right? Watching those rebounds. Does he look like he's fighting it? Does it, and same for Connor Hellebuck. We all know,
Totally.
we know the deal there, and it's a narrative, that should probably die and maybe will in not that many hours from now. But can you get up in his head, get up into his crease?
Mm-hmm.
Sam Bennett do that without going so overboard that he actually gets a penalty, which I guess is that an international rule that Sam Bennett can be penalized for taking
That's
a run?
that's like the best thing that could happen for you and for the Canadian hockey fan. The best thing that could happen was Bennett getting called for that in the semifinal game. Because now he knows, like, okay, I gotta at least add some plausible deniability to the mix here.
Yeah.
I can't just steamroll anybody. I gotta do what Brad Marchand did. Like that was like correct call or correct non-call on Marchand late there against UC Saros. That should not have been goaltender interference, but he also interfered with a goaltender. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he could get away with. And I think the fact that they spent a decent chunk of that game figuring out what the line was, I think that bodes very well for that line in particular.
Mm-hmm.
What's your pick? I don't want to put you on the spot here.
I'm picking Canada because
so boring.
Be the man, you got to beat the man, and Team USA has not been able to beat this team in a very long time, and I think that you talk about an X factor like it's some. Like you're picking something subtle or something other people may have missed.
I know.
I'm not doing that here, but
no.
Connor McDavid is absolutely on fire. Best player in the world, looking unstoppable. That I hope can negate some of the other stuff that we've talked about. And yeah, maybe this is the Connor McDavid game where he just grabs it by the throat and says, "No, we're not doing this." We will see. But I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be an excruciating, miserable, horrible experience to watch it. And then half of us it'll have been worth every second, and the other half will have to hear about it for 4 more years. Has Team USA figured out if they lose? Like, have they figured out what tournament is going to be the real one that they were? Or is that like something they just decide after the fact when they lose? They go, you know what? It's actually the Spengler Cup next year is the real one that we want.
No, it's a really likable group of players. I'm sure whatever they decide to do, it'll
be great. Yeah, easy bunch to cheer for. Absolutely.
Dylan Larkin, golden goal. It's coming.
Wow,
specific.
That is oddly specific.
Write it in pen.
You think golden goal? You think we're getting OT?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Okay.
3 other. What would happen if we go to overtime and both teams were just like, let's just do 5-on-5. We both want to do 5-on-5 and not this.
Completely nauseating. I hate 3-on-3 overtime in these games more than that. It bothers me to a point that I didn't think sports stuff could bother me. It's not that big of a deal, but like I was watching, look, U.S. women won gold. Great. I was seething throughout that overtime. Like it is a perversion of the nature of the game for that to happen.
I agree with you. Fake gold medal doesn't count. I'm with you 100%. I'm glad you had the courage to say it.
Yeah, like I said, we're getting an American overtime goal incoming here, because then that'll be great. Americans win gold and Canadians get something to complain about. That's the most important thing.
As long as we can get a nice lengthy offside review after the goal, so that we can't get too excited about it in the moment. I think that's what everyone here really wants to see. More memes, more curling memes about Mac and Celebrini being a quarter inch onside or whatever it was. Yep. That's what I'm looking for. Sean McIndoe, enjoy the game, buddy. I won't, but yeah. Why not consume it and watch it so we can discuss it at some point down the line for our jobs. Sounds good.
Could just do that. That's what I'm going to do. Thank you, man. And thank you to producer Jeff. As always, we love you, Jeff. We are off tomorrow, dude. This is good news. It's Max Boltman and Jesse Granger who are going live after the gold medal game between Canada and the USA. That's Sunday morning on the Athletic YouTube channel. Pardon? McIndoe's microphone crapped out. So goodbye forever, man. Thank you, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the game tomorrow, man. This is what it's all about. Hope everyone has fun. We certainly will. Frankie Crado and me and McIndoe are back on Wednesday. We're going to get you set for the NHL stretch drive to the deadline and the playoffs and beyond. Oh, God, we got to talk about NHL hockey again. How disappointing. I hope this tournament never ends. Thanks again. Enjoy tomorrow.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell to stay informed and catch new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And in the meantime, you can join our Discord community. We'll see you there.